Welcome back to Crime Time with Jess. It's been so long. I've missed you all. Some of you know why I've been absent. Some of you don't. But just know that I've been through a lot of major life changes. So that's the reason. But that doesn't mean I have stopped following true crime. So I've been heavily following the Murdaugh case. When this case first, you know, came out, oh, why is my title Saturday Night Let's Chat True Crime? Sorry, I got to change that title. Either way, this is going to be all about the Murdaughs. Okay, so let me change this title. Because anybody that comes across this, they're gonna think, I don't know what they're gonna think. We're having some kind of Saturday night something when it's Monday morning. And happy President's Day while I do that. So I'm just going to write the Murdaugh. Sorry. I always want to say it as Murdaugh, even though I know it is pronounced Murdoch. Yes. Okay. Hi, guys. So anyway, I want to start here. And then we'll talk about why. We're going to listen to Alec talk about Paul. Because I see a lot of people that are like, why? Why did this happen? How could he do this to his wife and son? Like, what would make this guy do this? And I've just been following it so much. I think that he killed Paul and Maggie for two separate financial reasons. I think the catalyst for all of it was the voting accident. In my opinion, when I saw this video of Paul Murdaugh in the sled car with the sled agent getting interviewed, and he gets the part where the sled agent asks him about Paul. And he starts off like, Paul's a good kid. But then he goes into why he doesn't think Paul's a good kid. It's just, to me, I can feel the disdain from him. This was 3 days, I believe, after the murders. 2-3 days after the murders. So, this is still really fresh. And he's going to talk about his son and just kind of what he thinks about him and how he feels about him. I think it's really telling. And then we also, just to point out real quick, we saw in the trial, he didn't really shed any tears for Paul, but he did for Maggie. So here we go with this small part.
Clothes, he did that with guns, he did that with my boats. So, you lost what?
Oh, I'm too far. Let me back up. That's not far enough. All right, hold on. Sorry. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, and I understand. I talked to him about their weekend. And sure. Yeah. I can tell you this: in riding around with Paul, he was his normal bright. Just he was a really great kid. So, being a dad myself,
he's a really great kid.
You had with Paul when you had to call him down and scold him or correct him, what was the biggest issue you had with Paul? Irresponsibility. He was ADHD. He was bad about jumping from, and he had so many wonderful qualities now, but he was bad.
So just think about what he's saying here. He's irresponsible. He's ADHD. He's about to start talking about how he doesn't finish projects. He's hopping all around. And don't forget that Paul was about to cost him a whole lot of money. millions and millions of dollars, I believe to the tune of $30 million. This boating accident, in my opinion, is the reason that Alec took his son's life. I think Paul was a constant thorn in his side. You're going to hear him call him a little detective. And with his drug use, you could see why that would be bothersome. But the boating accident, in my opinion, was the absolute reason that in Alec's mind, he eliminated the problem. And the problem was Paul.
Bad about jumping from, he'd start this, maybe not quite finish it, move, do something else. And, you know, you'll find out from his friends he had clothes strung out all over the state. He did that with clothes. He did that with guns. He did that with my boats.
So he's mentioning the boat. You know, he's doing two things here, in my opinion. He's making Paul look reckless, careless, irresponsible, just strewing clothes and everywhere, all over, guns, and he's setting up an alibi with that. You know, Paul just had guns everywhere. They were just strewn everywhere. But the disdain for him, is this lost on anybody? Because every time I watch this, I just feel like you really didn't like him, did you? Like, that's always my question. Anyway.
So,
you lost what? You would misplace stuff. Or leave stuff behind, right?
Yes, everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, he would go off for the weekend. Sometimes he wouldn't pack clothes because he's got clothes in somebody's house. I mean, Paul was one, he wouldn't understand how you go out, you know, you and a girl go out on a date. He liked the crowd.
So, you know, and then he's disparaging him more. And he don't even know how to go on a date with a girl. You know, he doesn't know how to do that. And yeah, he liked the crowd. He liked to party. It's just the way he describes him is not good.
Who was his girlfriend?
He didn't have a girlfriend right now.
Okay.
Hi, Ray.
Last time I talked to him like 2 weeks ago, although we texted.
I've missed you as well. I've missed everyone.
He had friends up there. Girlfriend up there?
No, we had a family thing in Greenville. He came up, Paul didn't play golf. He came up on Friday and stayed Saturday, and then he left to go to Charleston, and we were stayed another day to play golf. My niece on my wife's side is having a baby. And
okay, so he's just going to ramble on for a minute. But basically, in my opinion, I just do not think that these two got on well. I don't think they liked each other. I don't think they were very close. I think it's pretty obvious that Buster was the more favored child, at least for Alec, for whatever reason. There is the whole Stephen Smith case. If you guys have not watched the Murdaugh murder podcast on YouTube, please do so. Holy good Lord. Those people are just a wealth of information about this case. They have been investigating Paul Murdaugh before he even killed his wife and son. So great channel. Everything you need to know about this case is there. I don't know if you guys have been following this case or not, but just a little brief rundown. This guy in this blue shirt is Alec Murdaugh, and that's how you pronounce it. I don't know why. It's just, that's how they say it. Alec, instead of Alex. And then it's not Murdaugh, it's Murdaugh. So Alec Murdaugh killed his wife and son. His son in 2019 was in a boating accident with 5 other people, 5 other of his friends, and their girlfriends and his girlfriend. He was heavily intoxicated. If you've watched the video of, when the police show up and the Coast Guard and all of that, he's just very intoxicated. He's rude. The police handle him with like baby gloves, pretty much. He wasn't given a breathalyzer. There's a ton of privilege in this case, which makes it all the more fascinating, in a bad way, of course, because we are talking true crime and there's never really anything good about true crime. But it's very fascinating to watch a family, especially a guy like this, Alec Murdaugh, who came from privilege, who knows nothing else but that kind of life, now sitting in a courtroom facing most likely the rest of his life in prison for murdering his son, his wife, and then a crap ton of financial crimes that he's also committed. There's a lot of layers to this case. But I just wanted to specifically, because you can't just talk about we would just be talking for like 6 hours if we went over this whole case. So I just want to talk about this part specifically, like how he sort of is with Paul, the way he describes him, and then the way he goes on to describe Maggie is way more loving. He says how great of a wife she was and how she would do absolutely everything, which isn't really exactly true. They had a lot of hired help. They had a maid. They had a kennel cleaner. They hired people. They had people to do everything for them. So it was kind of, I'm going off the rail here for a minute, but it was kind of weird to me when I saw Maggie's sister take the stand, because she said, Maggie lived a comfortable life. They lived a comfortable life. I wouldn't say it was lavish. And I'm thinking, like, on what planet is that not lavish? These people have multiple homes. They have hired help to help them do everything. Miss Maggie didn't have to work. She's privileged enough not to do that. So I would say they lived an extremely privileged life with a very powerful last name. And to see this crazy fall of grace from this family is just sort of surreal. But it does really go back to just the old saying, absolute power will corrupt absolutely. Because it did. Alex Murdaugh, in my opinion, is just a complete psychopath. I mean, sociopath, whatever you would like to label this person as, it will probably fit. He capitalized on so many people's pain. It's disgusting. Like, the financial crimes alone are just disgusting. His maid of, 21 years dies mysteriously. Her family does believe it's an accident, that she was tripped up walking up their stairs and she hit her head. They were like the brick steps. And this happened at the same place that Maggie Murdaugh, the wife, and Paul Murdaugh, the son, were both murdered at. They call it Moselle. That's the name of the hunting lodge. That is the Murdaugh family, the main residence. But yeah, so his maid allegedly falls up the steps, trips over the dogs, falls up the steps. She hits her head. She dies. This is a woman that practically raised the Murdaugh boys. There's accounts from people that knew her, knew the family, but said she basically raised them, cooking all their meals. And not once, this woman laid in the hospital for 3 weeks dying. And never once did any of them visit her. And then after she dies, Alec, forever the con man, tells her sons, hey, this happened at my house. feel really bad. So go ahead and sue me, which is just insane. Who does that? Who says that? Just go ahead and sue me. Just go ahead and sue me. And, I'm going to pay you out. You guys deserve this, blah, blah, blah. So they do. They sue him and he takes all the money and he gives them nothing. I think one of them was facing eviction or was evicted. I mean, the things he did to people was just horrendous across the board. But he hid behind, again, his last name, his charm. He seems to be a very charming person, even though some people said, he's a little scatterbrainish. Also funny that he's describing Paul as ADHD, and he himself has very much kind of been described that way. So I want to get to the part where he starts talking about Maggie. I would put on subtitles for this, but it doesn't work well. It just doesn't. So Holly, hi Colleen. Hey girl, hey, not following this case, but wanted to stop by, throw some love at you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. It's a good case. Let me tell you, it is. Well, it's not a good case, but it's just, it will fill your true crime tank. If that, I don't know what the hell that means, but that's what it will do. Okay. So let me see where he starts talking about Maggie. Oh. Let's talk about playing golf, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and he's talking about a baseball game. They asked him what he was doing that weekend. Paul didn't come. Paul doesn't like baseball. Buster came. I have a big question for this case that I really don't see. Even the Murdaugh murder podcast. I don't even see them talk about. Wonder what the relationship between Buster and Paul was. Were they close? Because it seemed like Paul was more close to his mother, and then Buster more close to his father. That's just my perception. I don't know if that's reality. Just my perception. But I just wonder what the two brothers, were like together. Does anybody know that? Anybody that's following this case, anyone know that? Anybody heard anything about that? Because you see Buster in the courtroom. And listen, there has been so much testimony. This case is a whirlwind. I don't know. It's akin to the Vallow case with the complexity of it. Trying to explain the Vallow case to someone that's never heard of it is just oh man, where do you want to start? This case is the same. It's different from a case like Gabby Petito, where you have domestic violence, a couple. It's not super complicated. He was a violent person and he murdered her. Whereas with the Vallow case, you have multiple people. You have all kinds of different deaths, that are surrounding them. Same thing with the Murdaugh case. You have all kinds of different characters. You have all kinds of money scams. You have, I think, a total of 5 deaths in Alex's little orbit. I have watched Chris McDonough. I've watched a couple of his streams about this. They're really good. I thought the first one I watched was pretty good. And I think it was this car one. I can't remember everything he was saying, but it was a pretty good stream. But I'm getting off topic. I just haven't been on in so long, and I have so many thoughts about this case. I talk about this case every day, just not on YouTube. I talk about this case every day because it just, watching it unfold with the trial is just crazy. It really is. You know, you see the sister. Let me bring her up. You see Maggie's sister get up there. And all I want to show you, really, is Alex Murdaugh's reaction to her. This should just kind of tell you, like, what kind of person he is. Because he's on trial for her sister, her only sibling's murder, right? And what does he do when she like comes up and gets on the stand? He's like smiling at her, like, "Hey,
I buy the same products you do.
Hey, it's me.
I get them much cheaper.
Good to see ya." You know, like it's like a normal day or something. His reaction is so odd.
That I'm about to show you.
So this
finding out about other things that have been going on in Alex's life.
We're gonna start at the beginning. I guess that was the beginning.
Finding out about other things that have been going on in Alex's life. And
this is at the beginning.
This is in part based on your conversation with Mr. Griffin.
I wonder why they.
What kind of quandary does that put you in? You're going to be a witness as well?
Well, it's
Oh God.
Concerns.
Okay, so
with regard to
these. We just gotta stop here for a sec. This is not the thing that I want to show, but that is Maggie's sister up on the stand. Now, when she first comes in, I swear to you, this man, Mr. Alec Murdaugh, smiles at her and he's just cheesing like everything's cool. Like, I'm totally not on trial right now for murdering your nephew and your sister. Like, I just want to, like, hey, girl, hey. Like, that's really kind of like the look on his face. And I'm like, is this guy like delusional about where he is? You know, so, but these are his defense attorneys. And oh Lord. So this is a little pug. Psych, that's not a pug. That's his lead defense attorney. That is Dick. Let me see if I can get his name correct. His first name is very, very accurate to his personality. But his name is Dick Ratpootlian. Okay, so he looks like a pug. I just call him the pug because he is a pug. And then this guy. This is Dumb and Dumber, okay? Or you can interchange them. It's one and the same. Now, these are supposed to be like two of the best attorneys in the state of South Carolina. And if that is true, listen, they better get some new attorneys up in there, okay? This man is absolutely ridiculous. Dick Ratpootlian. I believe I'm saying that right. If I'm not, correct me if you want. Harpootlian. Thank you, Glory. Thank you. I knew somebody would correct me. But hi to you, by the way. Tamra. Yay. I know. I noticed that too. I love the skill count 333. I've been seeing that number everywhere, and 444. Either way, can we just talk about these defense attorneys, please? They are the utmost. They are so ridiculous. They do the most. They need to do way less. Okay. Glory, you should have some interesting comments here with your backgrounds. But this man, Dick Harpootlian, has a SLED agent, which that's the South Carolina law enforcement, right? I feel like it's like akin to some kind of like a TBI or FBI, but like on state level or something. I don't know. Or maybe the state, I don't know. Like they are the higher ups. We'll just call them that. We'll take a page out of Candace Wells' book, just call them the higher ups. But he has the SLED team, like a SLED agent on the stand. And he starts asking him medical questions. Like all these medical questions. And the guy keeps telling him, I'm not a doctor. Basically, it's not what I'm here to testify about. I can't tell you what a hematoma blah, blah, blah is because I'm not a doctor. I'm a sled agent. So Dick Harpootlian just keeps going and going and going. Like you just want to like, I don't know. You just want to like smack him down. Like go back to your cage. But anyway, let's watch these defense attorneys. I don't know what part we're gonna be at, but I just want to see this.
Fidelity, I mean, we can hear what she says about it, but the evidence, as I understand it, is 10 or 15 years ago. I don't know how long ago, but it was more than 10 years ago. There was some issue about someone that Alec had known in college reaching out to him. Maggie got angry about that. They had a
Reaching out to him 15 years ago or recently?
Yes. And that Maggie got angry about it. Contacted the woman's husband, who says, it's not true. I know who she's seeing because I have a private eye on her.
Okay, what are we putting the victim on trial here? Is that what's happening? So Maggie got mad 15 years ago because Alec's school friend, reached out to him, probably a female, obviously. What does this have to do with anything? Where is this man going with this line of questioning?
That led to a divorce.
He's now referring to a 15-year-old conversation.
Yes. And then, then the
Thank you,
opioid
Judge.
stuff, Your Honor, is,
Sorry.
I'm not sure what information she's going to share about that, frankly.
Well, you have.
See, he wants her to talk about this. Do you see what I'm saying? Are you guys understanding? You guys grasping what I'm saying with these two jokers? Okay. Yeah, he wants her to talk about 15 years ago when Maggie Murdaugh got mad at Alec over a school friend contact. That's what he wants her to talk about. Why? So she can say that their marriage was bad. I mean, this is helping your client. Like, I do not understand these two, but they're the most backwoods Southern lawyers like in the world. And I'm not disparaging anybody from the South, but that's what they feel like. Reba McEntire warned us against these people. I'm just saying, what did she say? Don't be trusting no backwoods Southern lawyer. And I believe in Reba. So anyway, I want to see where this is going, what she is going to say, because I don't remember this part.
When our earlier witness read a letter about him being in rehab
That they introduced, yes.
that you published.
It's already in evidence, Your Honor.
That you published. The defense has opened the door to a couple of things because, again, Dumb and Dumber. Anyway.
Over objection.
Go ahead, Mr. Waters.
So on those issues, first of all, with the first.
Step down for a break. Don't discuss your case. You're fine? Okay, good. All right.
With the issue of the first matter, I think it's certainly a fair question to say, did Maggie ever express to you any concerns? Were there ever any concerns and issues with the defense?
So this is the prosecutor for the state. I like this guy. He's pretty fair. They always try to paint him as not fair, especially before the trial began. They painted him as not wanting to turn over evidence and all this craziness, which is not true. But he's being fair here and saying, okay, well, I think that's a fair question just to ask if, they ever had any problems. But it's kind of telling if you have to go back 15 years to find something. Like, their youngest son was 22. So, I mean, they're old. Buster's 25. Like, these people have been married a long time. If you have to go back 15 years to find a problem, they probably got along pretty well. But, with Alex and all his sociopathy or psychopathy or whatever the hell he has, I'm not a doctor. I'll be the sled agent. So I don't know what he's got. Clearly, something ain't ticking right up there. Okay. I think he just completely blindsided his wife and murdered her. She didn't want to sign over properties. There is a rumor, I don't think it has been confirmed, that she had consulted with a divorce attorney, but I don't think that's been confirmed. So, but either way, she wasn't, if you watch this trial, she wasn't, and her sister does testify to this as well. She wasn't really into their finances. Alec is the one that dealt with all the money. And he was mismanaging and stealing like crazy. Anyway.
And its fidelity. I think that's clearly in response to the extensive evidence been offered by the defense.
You said, has she ever, such as 15 years ago?
Well, I think that my follow-up question would be, was that something that remained in Maggie's mind over the years up until...
she would know that.
I think that if I asked her that question, she could express an answer to that. Yes, sir.
What is the answer to that?
It was an affair that happened, or Maggie thought it was an affair that happened many years ago.
Oh, wow. That's the affair talk.
They were able to resolve the issues, but Maggie still brought it up.
Well, of course she did. Okay, Glory, can you explain the strategy to me, please? Please, just explain the strategy. How does this help him? So the defense is talking about an affair that Alec had. And Maggie it still bothered her. She still brought it up. Of course she did. That bothers anyone. Cheat on your spouse and they forgive you. It still lingers around in the brain. You might just throw it out there if you get into a little argument. You probably should, I don't know. I don't know what you should do. I'm not here for relationship advice. I'm just saying that's really not that unusual. I'm failing to see how this is helping their client. Any idea? Anyone? Mark W. Judge Newman is a legend on the bench, and his daughter. Also, Judge Newman lost his son. I know. I saw that. He lost his son a month ago. That was really sad, and I think he's great. I think he is extremely fair, very level-headed, very logical. That's what I get from this judge. I find the prosecutor to not be super crazy aggressive, but aggressive enough to deal with this defense, which is, if there's a dream team, they're the opposite of it. They are literally there just to confuse people. Like this is what I'm talking about. Like, if anyone has any idea of how bringing up Alec's affair on Maggie and how Maggie, dealt with that, explain that to me. Like, how this helps him out of murdering his wife. Like, let's continue on, I guess.
Please, when?
A year ago. She did not think anything was going on. It still bothered her.
Yes.
During when that event occurred, did she make Alec leave the household for a period of time?
She did.
Again, normal. What's the relevance? What is the relevance of this?
Frame when this happened.
I understand. 15 years ago, or?
How long ago was that?
It was a very long time ago. I'm not sure. A very long time ago.
I think, again, I'm not trying to make it bigger than it is, but I think given the issues that have been squarely in front of the jury, the state's entitled, at least in a limited fashion, to offer this some testimony in this regard that that everything was not perfect, as the defense has repeatedly elicited. And so on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the point. He's like, hey, I want to say something back here. Not a whole lot, but, the defense is the one that's been over here saying they have a perfect marriage, and now they want to question the sister about an affair. And I think what's sad, what stands out to me, is how sad her sister still looks about this. So you could tell that this probably really hurt Maggie, because I feel like Maggie's emotions are showing right on her sister's face. Let's see. Oh, Mark, so you live in Charleston. Very interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely open to hearing your thoughts on this case. Glory is saying it doesn't help. It hurts. It came up because Maggie had trust issues stemming from the cheating. Yeah, obviously. I mean, so I don't get them. Mark, also, the Stephen Smith case is very strange. Got me thinking if Alec was involved. I think he was. I mean, look, how... Okay, so if you guys don't know who Stephen Smith is another dead person orbiting around Alec Murdaugh. Okay? Stephen Smith went to school with Buster Murdaugh. There were a lot of rumors in the town that Buster and Stephen was openly gay. For some of the townspeople, they called that very taboo there still. Maybe Mark can shed a little bit more light here, but they were just saying that, basically it's still kind of taboo, but Stephen Smith was openly gay, and he was okay with who he was. Even if other people weren't, he was okay with that. There was a lot of rumors that him and Buster had a relationship of some sort. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. Again, it's rumors. There was another rumor that Buster, they were coming upon Stephen Smith, like in the road. Stephen Smith was driving home. He was driving back to his dad's house. And they said that Buster stuck something out the window and hit him with it or something. That's another rumor. Either way, Stephen Smith was on his way to his father's house where he lived with his twin sister. His parents were not together. His mother lived in a different house, but he was very close to his mother. And he was found in the middle of the road, just laying there, dead. His head, he had head injuries. He had defensive wounds, which should be a big tell. And he still had his shoes on. And they called it a hit and run, which was pretty clear that it wasn't a hit and run if he has defensive wounds and stuff. Hello. But the weirdest thing was that before anyone even really knew, somehow Alec Murdaugh and his brother Randy, who also practices law, were at the crime scene. Or, well, I'm going to call it a crime scene, but they were at the scene of Stephen's death. How did they even know this happened? Why were you there? And then they're offering to take the case, quote unquote, on for the family for free. What case? It was a hit and run. What case? Who are you suing? So just very strange circumstances. We would have to pick a different day to go further into that case. But because of what is happening here now with Alec Murdaugh being on trial for his wife and his son's murders, they have reopened the Stephen Smith case because they say that they have found something, I guess, when they were investigating Maggie and Paul's death. They found something relating to Stephen, and they've reopened the case. So, when I heard that, I thought the only thing that could obviously bring down a Murdaugh is another Murdaugh. The only thing that could do this family in was themselves. Because, again, they just have all these weird, mysterious deaths around them, and they've never been held accountable for anything until now. And again, good Lord, I mean, it would take us days upon days upon days to get into his financial crimes. I thought that his, I don't know if she was his paralegal or what her title was exactly. She's talking about the financials and about him stealing from the law firm. It was really crazy. I mean, this man stole so much money, again, from clients, from his law firm. And I think his wife was truly oblivious to it. I think she had lived the lap of luxury for for all of her adult life, really. Alec took care of the money. And I don't think that, well, she knew things were bad with the boating accident lawsuit because she told their maid slash cook slash housekeeper that, she was really upset about it. It was $30 million. And that Alec did not tell her everything, which clearly he didn't. He had a whole affair. But anyway, let me read some of you guys' comments. Highway Patrol doesn't believe it. Yeah, I wouldn't either, Mark. It's how? Alec was at the scene with Randy. Yep, I just said that. As they should. Local law enforcement ruled it hit and run, but it's open due to new evidence. Yes. Lauren Dillon, it's possible that Alec is a serial killer. Stephen Smith, the housekeeper, Paul, and Maggie. Well, when I think of the word serial killer, though, I think of like a BTK. I know the actual definition is like more than 3 or 4 people, something of that nature, but I don't know, because he was killing like for financial stuff, and usually it's sexual things. I don't know. I just don't know that I would classify him as that. I mean, like a psychopath, yes. But what did I want to watch? Oh, Alex. I want to watch his, I think it's his paralegal, but it might not be. Oh, yes, this woman. It is his paralegal. She called him the Tasmanian Devil. I thought this woman was very fascinating with what she knew
just beautiful
of his financial
touch of the divine.
schemes and
My name is
scamming.
Xana Griswold, Griswold.
Griswold, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
Good. If you might just tell the jury a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and what you do for a living.
Okay. I grew up in Hampton, South Carolina, and lived there for the first 18 years of my life. Graduated from Wade Hampton High School. Went away for college at 18. Ended up falling in love with the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Over the next 2 decades, I spent most of that time in Charlotte. That's where I got married. And with the exception of a few years coming back to Hampton and a few years in Columbia for my husband to get his degree.
Lauren Dillon, did you really just say that this case has been making you crave fried chicken? The South, baby. They got that accent going on. I like it, though. I do enjoy the Southern accent. I feel like I've spent a lot of time last year on the West Coast out there where you guys are at. Utah, Idaho. I learned a lot about those places. But the South, I know more about because I'm on the East Coast. I've been down to the South, and it is a different kind of place. It is. And I'm not saying that like in a good or bad way. I'm saying that more in the way that it's just, you feel like, at least to me, as a Northeasterner, I feel like I take a step back in time. When I go down to the South, everything just moves a little slower. People are more friendly, I would say. Nicer, really. It's kind of odd. I'm saying that while we're about to watch this woman say all kinds of bad stuff. But normally, the people I've came into contact in the South, just very nice people, really. But anyway.
That time was spent in Charlotte until 2012. My dad took ill, and he wanted us to move closer to be near him, and my mom needed help taking care of him. So I moved home in 2012. After my father passed away, a few months after, I went back on the job search, and I've been out of work for 2 months helping my mom. So I was looking for a job and ran into my friend's father, and he told me I should probably check the law firm. I found out that I had a school friend that worked there, so I reached out to her, sent her my resume, and she forwarded it to the right people. And 3 interviews later, I was working for the firm, and I worked as a paralegal and was hired to work for Alec Murdaugh.
What are we talking about?
What everybody refers to as PMPED.
When did you start working there?
July of 2012.
Okay, let's just talk about this law firm just for a minute. Okay, just real briefly. PMPD. I missed the letter. There's 5 of them. Either way, to me, it always looks like the word pumped. But this law firm is so notorious for suing like large corporations, winning all kinds of money. The judges like rule in their favor and stuff, that it's actually hurt Hampton County because, Walmart was going to open up a store there and they were advised not to. Any kind of personal injury that would have happened or something like that, they get hooked up with Alec Murdaugh's law firm, and the next thing you know, Walmart's going bankrupt or something. So their big businesses and stuff have stayed away from this county because of this law firm specifically. So that's just tell you their power and what they have done, the kind of money that they've made. A lot.
And when you started working there, who were you working for?
Alec Murdaugh.
And the entirety of the time that you were there up until the time that he was no longer a partner in that firm, is that who you worked for?
That's correct.
So how long was that?
That was a little over 9 years.
Were you the only staff member that he had that was assigned to him?
No, we have, there's 2 of us that worked for Alec. I've been with him, like I said, the 9 years. And then the other secretary was Christy Gerald, and she had been with him
Hi, Christy.
almost double of what I'd been there.
Quickly describe for me sort of the division of labor between you and Christy Gerald, please.
I was hired to handle more of the larger cases that Alec had, where it's litigation law, and so it's personal injury for the most part, workers' comp, medical malpractice, premises liability, product liability, wrongful death, trucking cases.
Yeah, these are the kinds of people that sue, like McDonald's because the coffee's too hot and win $12 million. But anyway, I really want her to get to the part where she starts talking about his craziness, his thievery. Alec Murdaugh, if anything else, in my humble opinion, is the biggest thief on this planet. Out here stealing money, out here stealing lives. It's crazy.
And so he wanted me to take over those bigger cases and handle those. And then Christy did more of the day-to-day stuff and the smaller files. Still just as important, but just smaller files than the larger ones.
You got the more complex stuff?
I did.
The bigger cases?
Yes, sir.
Just quickly, how was the defendant as a boss and a lawyer? Just what were his typical work habits, and what was he like in the office?
Oh,
Extremely intelligent when it comes to the law. I respected and admired that in him greatly. He didn't keep normal hours. He liked to float in later in the late morning time or early afternoon. We always had a running joke. We never knew. We knew that he might not be there all day, but he would always show up right before 5 o'clock when we were ready to leave. So just, kept unset hours. Pretty, I sometimes referred to Alec as a Tasmanian devil, because when he walked in, no matter what you were doing, you were started spinning, because he was just coming through and, shouting everybody's name and ready to get work done when he was walking in the door. So it was kind of confusing. Hi, I'm Nicole Hockley from San
yeah.
Diego.
So he's all over the place, this guy.
Hard to hear.
Doesn't keep set hours. Sorry, Tamara. I don't.
Let me ask
I
you
think
just a
he's
little
guilty.
bit. The jury's heard some testimony about disbursement sheets and how they work. And can you just remind them very quickly how that works? Who prepares the disbursement sheets, and how does that go about taking place?
After I find out that a case is settled, I go ahead and start getting my disbursement sheet ready, where I can kind of go ahead and expect what the deductions are that are going to come out of it. The attorney's fees, the expenses. Anytime you have Medicare or any health insurance,
In my opinion, again, this is really important testimony. Really, really important testimony. It just really, I think she does such a good job of outlining his crimes and what he was doing, how he was stealing.
typically a lien on that money, and we are required by law to pay it back. So I go ahead and start looking into all that, draft the sheet, and get everything on it that I know that I'm aware of, and then it goes to Alec, and he makes any changes he needs to, and then he would sign. Once he signs off on it, I send it across to our accounts payable department, and they cut the checks.
Are you familiar with what is generally referred to as the boat case?
I am.
And that is the boat wreck that occurred around February 2019.
Oh, yes, Mark. I want to say something about that real quick. Mark's saying, I'm honestly finding it hard to believe, Jess, that AM was spending $60K a week in drugs. That's what he's talking about. I'm not buying it. I'm not either. I am not buying it. I think that maybe, he was dibbling and dabbling with some stuff. But I'm not fully on board that he was an opiate addict for the last 20 years. I just, very difficult to believe. And believe me, if anyone would know that, it would be me. Trust. Not because I was an opiate addict, but because I've been with one. And that is an addiction that is extremely hard to hide. And when my ex-partner showed signs of this, even though I'm not an opiate addict, I immediately recognized there was something very wrong. There was something very, very wrong here. So I'm not buying that he would be dead. He would be dead. If he had a $60K a week opiate problem, I don't think that Alec Murdaugh would be alive right now, quite frankly. It just, I feel like this was another one of his ruses. Oh, poor me. I was on drugs and I did these terrible things. I didn't know what I was doing. Just out of my mind. I went to rehab and I'm all better, guys, he says that. He says, like every 2 seconds, he'll be like, no, that's Don Wells. But he'll be like, I had a drug problem, and Maggie, she didn't know about it, but I don't know. I'm kind of mixing up Don Wells and Alex Murdaugh. That's not good. Let me just stop now. Anyway, I'm with you, Mark. I'm not buying it. But anyway, I really want to hear this lady's testimony. I'm going to try to ignore chat for a minute. I get caught up.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that the defendant was sued civilly in that particular case?
Yes, sir.
After the boat case happened, did you notice any change in the defendant's demeanor around the office about his work habits?
I did. He was more distant. Even when he was in the office, he was absent. It was hard to, he's always been hard to sit still and get answers from and to sign our documents and anything that we had put in his office to sign, but it got extremely worse after the boat accident. He was rarely there, and when he was, the door was closed, and it was almost impossible for us to reach him. Like, even if he was always on his phone, he was always dealing with something bigger than what we had going on.
As time moved on into the early part of 2021, did that even get worse?
It did. He would come in lots of times, and he was just not his normal self or what his normal self used to be. It was just very tense, and I don't know how to describe it. It's just, you could tell that it was the boat crash was weighing heavy on him, and it was consuming his life almost, it seemed like, and he was just harder to reach. And there was a couple instances where I referred to him as having his ass on his shoulders, because that's how I felt. It was disrespectful of me.
She's so honest.
To feel that way and to say that out loud, but that's how I felt, because he just wasn't himself with us anymore. He came in and it was just like yell our names and just didn't treat us the same way he did prior to the boat accident.
So you see with her testimony, she described him initially as a person that would come into the office and just, be calling out everybody's name. Hey, what's up? He was all happy. And then after the boating accident, there's this big change in him. She just said it for you of, how he was different. They couldn't really get him to sign things. He was kind of holing up in his office. It was consuming his life, as it probably would. They were suing him for an extremely large amount of money. And I really think that the day that was filed, that was the day that he probably started thinking about Paul's death. With him telling Maggie's sister after the murders that he didn't know who did this, but they were probably thinking about it for a long time. And he probably was. Going back to this boating accident and the subsequent civil lawsuit.
Was the defendant very protective about anyone going into his office?
He was. There was often times where he would come in on a Monday and say, "Who's been in my office?" And we'd be like, "I don't know, probably the cleaning ladies. We have no idea." He was, it was very cluttered, very unorganized, but he said he knew where his stuff was. It was organized in his way.
Jury's heard a lot of testimony about this, and just in the interest of time, I'm going to ask it this way. Over the years, in various cases, did the defendant ask you to put disbursements to forge on various disbursement sheets so that settlement checks would be prepared from the trust account laid out that way?
Yes, sir, he did. I can't remember when it started, but he told me, to put it on Forge. And me knowing Forge Consulting was a legitimate company, I would, on the disbursement sheet, I would put Forge Consulting. And he would say, "No, it's not Forge Consulting. If I wanted to be Forge Consulting, I would have told you Forge Consulting. I want it to be Forge." And I was like, "Well, I don't understand. Isn't the name of the company Forge Consulting?" And he told me that he described it to me. He said, "Think of it like Forge Consulting is the large company and Forge is a kind of under that umbrella of it." So he said, Forge Consulting is the big name. And then you have all different things they do, including Forge, which is more like a savings account than a trust.
So he would actually get you to change it from Forge Consulting to just Forge.
Correct. Even when across the street at the accounts payable department, they would write the check out to Forge Consulting. Lots of times I'd have to reach out to them and say, "Hey, you wrote this to Forge Consulting. If he says it needs to be Forge." And so lots of times they would have to change that.
Those checks that he would have on disbursement sheets to get cut, made out to Forge, would he often talk to you about picking those up personally?
Yes, I would ask him if I could go ahead and mail it to Michael Gunn at Forge Consulting because he was our contact. And he would say, "No, you know what? I'm seeing Gunn this weekend. He's coming out to the farm, or we're going to meet halfway tonight and have dinner." He always said that he was going to hand deliver it. So I even got to where I would make file notes in my files.
This woman takes some notes, boy, and I love how she takes notes. What he was doing, Forge Consulting was a real company that they worked with. But Forge, just Forge, no consulting on the end. This was Alex Murdaugh's fake company. So he was having his paralegals, cut checks to what she thought was like a little extension of Forge Consulting, just called Forge, because that's what he lied to her and told her. But really, she was basically just cutting checks to Alex himself. And he was just stealing all this money. So from their law firm.
Took check to hand deliver because I was so worried that he was going to lose these checks because he was, a little aloof sometimes and, would leave keys in his vehicle, would misplace a few things. And so.
Yeah. So she's talking about how careless and reckless he was too. Wonder where Paul got it from, right? So Mark is saying, just on the 90 financial crimes, he's facing amounts to life without parole. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Just the financial crimes alone. This guy, he's done. He is toast. This witness alone just laid it all out. For me, I was like, oh, this guy's so done. Tamara, he spun out of control, in my opinion. Yeah, but I mean, his scheming and scamming had been going on for so long. And then the day of the murders, he was actually confronted by her about some money. If I got that right. There's a lot of moving parts in this case. If I didn't, forgive me. But the day of the murders, he was confronted about his stealing. And then, what happens? His wife and his son get murdered. And, suddenly they're like, oh, well, we can't really ask him about the money now. We're at their funerals. He picks one of his law partners to give the eulogy for Paul. These people are trying to kick him out of the law firm because he's a thief, and then his wife and his son die miraculously. And, suddenly they're giving eulogies and, they're not really wanting to kick him out of the law firm because it's not a good time for that. So he had been at this a long time. And I think that, all of his corruption, how his children were raised and the things that they did, or because Buster is alleged in the Stephen Smith case, but we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But anyway, all the chickens were just coming home to roost for Alec Murdaugh. And to me, I think he saw Paul and Maggie in his deluded minds as the bad guys, the ones, either costing him money or standing in the way or maybe even going to potentially take his money, Maggie, maybe, potentially. But he saw them as the problem and the solution, because if I kill them, now, I'm done with the boating accident. That's solved. Maggie can't leave me or, I have all her assets, the beach house and all, that's all mine now. So, and my law firm's going to feel, so sorry for me. This happened. These crazy Mallory Beach people probably, killed my family. So I really think, again, he saw them as the problem and also the solution. That is my speculation. So, Mark, exactly, Jess. That's when he called his wife to the other house with Paul and told Buster to stay with his brother. Premeditated. Mm-hmm. Tamara, somewhere in his life, he needed to been held accountable for a wrong here and there. Maybe. I mean, seems to me it's spoiled. I want it all my way, in my opinion. Mark is saying the kennel video is all the proof I need. It's his voice. Yeah, exactly. Listen, that kennel video is everything. It's just everything. Because he repeatedly, you watch him in the interviews with Sled, he never went down to the kennels. That was his stance. He did not go to the kennels. But that was a lie, because Paul took a Snapchat video at the kennels while he's, messing around with the chocolate lab. And I think the lab may have had something wrong with the tail. It looked like he was kind of checking that. But in that video, you clearly hear Maggie and Alec right there at the kennels. Why lie? Why lie? He was down there yelling at one of Maggie's dogs, Bubba, because that was her, I guess those were the two dogs that she, I guess, took everywhere with her, Bubba and Grady. And you hear Maggie say he's got a bird in his mouth, talking about Bubba, get him, and Alex starts to yell, Bubba, they have brought, how many different people, Mark, you would probably know. At my last count, I think we were up to 3 people that knew the family very well, knew him very well, and they all identified his voice on that video as 100% him. So, and then there was the whole debate with whether or not when he was in the sled car, we could go back to that. We could listen to the rest of this, or we could go back to that. But in the sled car, when he says, he's talking about Paul, he starts to have a breakdown, he's crying, and he's like, it was so bad. I did him so bad. Sorry, I have a really bad Southern accent when I try, but I'm trying. Okay. But either way, some people heard him say they did him so bad, and other people heard him say I did him so bad. The sled agent testified, I think he said like 100%, 1,000%, something, but he testified that he heard him say, I did him so bad. And the defense even slowed down this audio and played it. And the sled agent was still like, yeah, he said I. So I always heard I as well. I don't know about you guys. Let me bring that up. I love this. I love this paralegal. And she does lay out his stuff, but I just kind of, I'm all over the place. I'm telling you, I've been watching all this stuff. And I should have been, I should have been going live every day with this, because I literally talk about it every day. But let's see. Alex Murdaugh, what do I want to look up? Oh, yeah. Sled car. I did him so bad. Let's see. Oh, so here we go. We'll watch the trial of it.
With Google Pixel. Your
So
phone,
if you
buds,
guys haven't
and
already
watch
made up your
are
minds,
seamlessly connected, intuitively helpful.
or even if you have, I'd like to hear
Let me
your
ask you
opinions.
back on June. Why didn't you ask him right then and there when you said I did him so bad? Why didn't you ask him, what do you mean by that, Ellen?
Again, it was early in the investigation. It was more of an information gathering interview, if you would call it an interview, with Mr. Allen. And we did not, at that particular time in the investigation, we did not have evidence to challenge anything that Mr. Allen would have told us. It was decided that we would not cross that at that time.
I mean, my question wasn't, why didn't you challenge him? My question is, why didn't you ask for clarification? Like, what are you talking about? You did him so bad.
Asking for clarification of I did him so bad would ultimately be a challenge of what he said.
So what were the things going?
Yeah, and let me just stop and say, I think the defense is, just asking a stupid question, in my opinion. Because when you're interviewing somebody like this, you don't want to stop them. You don't want to start attacking them. What did you say? Did you just say you did him so bad? Why did you say that? You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to keep it going. That now becomes part of evidence, but you want to keep him talking. So he's like, why didn't you challenge him on that? Well, for obvious reasons. So he keeps talking. Duh. Anyway, these defense attorneys just really get on my nerves. They're irritating to me. Like never mind. Okay.
Going through your mind when you heard or misheard, I did him so bad, you're like, I wasn't a good dad? I spoiled him? Or I killed him? I mean, what was going through your mental note?
There was a mental note that it was definitely something that we needed to follow up on and ask at a later time.
Now, from the video, it appears you're back there taking some notes.
Yes,
Did you take notes?
I was writing specific stuff
You
down.
mentioned you made a mental note. This is what you heard or misheard. I did him so bad. But did you make a written note of him saying that?
I don't recall if I wrote it or not, sir.
So it's possible that you're sitting there with a guy who's now been charged with murder on June 10th, in the interview, the father, the only one in the circle, and he says, I did him so bad, and you can't tell the jury you even wrote it down on a piece of paper.
I don't recall if I actually made a physical note of it or not, sir.
I'm going to play the clip from State's Exhibit 243, which is in evidence. You listen again with the jury. Hang on.
Isn't he the creepiest looking dude ever? This is a creepy looking guy. He's like something you run into in the dark and just immediately scream because look at it.
All right, let's play it. Please, Doug. Exhibit 243 and up.
It's tough. It's just so bad. They did it so bad.
All right. Back it up and play it in real time again, Doug. Real time.
Or not easy. I know it's hard. And sitting here talking today is tough. It's just so bad. They did it so bad.
Did you hear now? They, right?
I will still testify that my hearing, I hear I.
Your Honor, we'd like to play it again at 1/3 speed to slow it down. It's the same. Thank you.
1/3 speed. Foundation laid for who's manipulating it, how it's being manipulated. I think obviously we have it in real time, but there would have to be some additional foundation.
At 1/3 speed.
Is tough. It's just so bad. It's so bad.
Did you hear they then?
No, sir, I did not.
Neither did I.
But you would agree the jury gets to decide what he said on that tape. That's the best evidence.
I agree that they get to hear the tape and make their own mind up as to what he said. Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have.
You know, I gotta give it to the SLED agents big time because they held their composure
Tax questions.
so well
Thank you, Your Honor. State
with this defense, especially Agent Kelly. Agent Kelly, Dick Harpootlian was such his first name, right? This SLED agent, like I almost wanted to come into the court and be like, Dick, have a seat, have a seat, have several seats. He was so incredibly rude. It was ridiculous, and that's not his job. Your job is not to be a complete a-hole to somebody, but he was. Hold on, I want to see that. Agent Kelly, Dick Harpootlian. He was an a-hole. He really was. And I love I love the agent's facial expressions, because they just say it all. They just say it all. Like his whole face is just like, what in the hell is happening here? So we're gonna watch like the heated part of it.
Took him into custody. Do you know when that was?
I don't have the exact date in front of me. I apologize.
If I told you October 16th of 2021, would that seem appropriate?
I believe it was in the month of October 2020.
And tell this jury, how long has he been out of jail since October 16th of 2021? I mean, did he make bond?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay, so he.
Tell the jury how long he's been out of jail. And he's looking at him like he's done something wrong, you know. But real quick, can we just talk about Dick Harpootlian being an ex-senator? You know, you have Alec Murdaugh over here being represented by an ex-senator. And there's just something that just doesn't sit right with me. But anyway.
Been in jail since October 16th.
Objection sustained.
What opportunity has he had since October 16th, 2021 to manipulate witnesses, to manipulate evidence, to manipulate anything in this case? What opportunity?
Oh, and I'm going to have to stop here again. So he's asking him, oh, well, he hasn't been out of jail, right? So how could he be manipulating witnesses? Dick doesn't want to talk about how they were doing three-way calls from his office. I mean, are you kidding? Like, there was plenty of opportunity for Alec to still manipulate, and he was. But anyway.
Go ahead.
Objection.
I'm sorry, what's this objection?
Objection 401, Your Honor.
And response.
Well, Your Honor,
Well, Your Honor, just let me say what I want to say. A little crybaby.
no question, he's been in jail since October 6th.
Your legal response to the objection.
I
The
don't,
401 is the objection, relevance, and your response.
my response is that they have him, they're trying to portray him as this manipulative person, and he's not got the ability to manipulate anything after October 16th.
That's a lie. That is a lie.
That's not relevant.
It's not relevant.
Your argument
Okay.
to the jury.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Now, did you tell anyone in his family the reason you wanted to see him while he was in rehab was to show him a picture of a truck?
The conversations about the picture of the truck, we obtained the picture of the truck on and around.
Excuse me, if you would just answer yes or no, and then you can explain your answer. We're going to go down this trail, and if you say no, then I'm done. If you say yes, then I'm going to ask you when you did it, and we don't have to go through this back and forth for the next 10 minutes. Did you tell anybody in his family who wanted to see him in rehab just to show him a picture, among other things, just to show him a picture of a truck?
I believe that was one of the items we wanted to discuss with Mr. Murdaugh.
Okay. And so you were giving the impression that at that point you still believed him, and you just wanted to show him a picture of a truck. Relevance, really.
Let me hear that question again.
You indicated to a member of his family you knew was communicating with him that all you wanted to do was show him a picture of a truck.
To the form, Your Honor.
It's cross-examination.
Thank you. Did you communicate?
What's the response?
I asked the question.
Could you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
He's such a piece of work.
Special, are you a senior special agent?
Yes, sir, I am.
Senior special agent Kelly, did you communicate to a member of Mr. Murdaugh's family, Randy Murdaugh, that all you wanted to do was show him a picture of a truck? That was paramount to you, and that's what you communicated to Mr. Murdaugh.
Objection 401, Your Honor.
Objection's overruled.
The question you just asked me is that, and I responded to, that was one of the things. That was not the only thing. We knew the identity of Curtis Smith. We knew the truck that Mr. Smith.
I didn't ask you what else you knew. I asked you.
Ask the witness to be allowed to complete his answer, Your Honor.
You may continue your response.
We wanted to meet with Mr. Murdaugh to show him images of the truck. We wanted to show him to see. At this point, we suspected he was not telling the truth, and we wanted to see if he would continue to not tell it, to continue to lie to us about not knowing the existence of Curtis or the truck, or if he would, show some type of clarity. And
so, and this goes to sort of the same issue. When you wanted to see him,
I think this is where he tries to do
when
the
you wanted to
mistrial.
see him and you contacted me, I indicated he was in detox, right?
Objection sustained.
Were you aware that he was in detox in Atlanta?
I was aware that he was out of state, and based on the information you told me, and I took you at your word, that he was seeking treatment in an out-of-state facility.
And did I indicate to you, or did anybody indicate to you in detox, you need an uninterrupted period to get off the drugs?
I believe that is what you explained to me.
Okay. And then he wouldn't be
That's what he explained to him.
to communicate.
That's really terrible. Really. Lori. Lori's saying off topic. They've confirmed the body was Nicola Bullock. Oh, that's really terrible. But yeah, you just see him just being an ass, really. We'll just call it what it is to this witness. And it's just disrespectful. That this man's position, he's a senior sled agent, and you're talking to him like trash. You're asking him questions that I don't know if they show it here in this one, but asking him medical questions that he's unable to answer because he literally tells him, I'm not a doctor. But he's just being a jerk to him.
Until he'd been to his hospital. Would not be competent to speak with you until the doctor said he was competent, right?
On the morning of on the September 4th incident, he consumed opioids that morning. He was not detoxing or coming off those drugs. He did not appear to be under the influence of any narcotics. When we met with him in the hospital, he was on his cell phone, he was walking, he was talking, he was coherent. He was the victim of a crime, the only witness that we were aware of for that crime. So we obtained a statement from him so he could tell us what happened.
You would concede he'd been shot in the head. I mean, no one plow around, but he had a head wound, fractured skull. So never asked and answered, to be honest.
Objection sustained.
Okay. Did you ask a doctor if he was competent to speak with you?
Again, those medical records, the doctors would not.
What I'm asking you if you talked to a doctor and said, is he competent to talk to us? Did you do that?
Mr. Arpulian,
would you just say yes or no? We can move on. Answer the question.
An objection. Answer the question, yes or no.
Could you repeat the question?
Did you speak to one of his physicians or any medical personnel and ask them if he was competent to speak with you in the hospital?
I did not.
Now let's look at part of the records that are in evidence. And there was drug testing done on this day, correct?
Again, they did not discuss with me his medical records. Mr. Arpulian, they didn't talk to me about his medical records.
And you didn't ask them, did you? Did you ask them?
The testing that was.
Did you ask them?
We did not ask to discuss specific aspects of Mr. Murdaugh's medical condition. We had to subpoena the records with a court order to have access to them.
So
we will not discuss openly his medical records with us.
Did you ask a doctor? That's repetitive. But if you had asked a doctor, they would have told you, according to these records, that he was positive for barbiturates and positive for opioids, would they not?
They would have told us they.
Objection sustained.
Were you, according to the records that are in evidence, or were you aware that he was on opioids and he had a positive test for opioids and benzos?
Once we have subpoenaed.
Would you please answer the yes or no?
Once we got the records,
would you answer yes or no?
Your Honor, I would object to him badgering the witness. The witness is entitled to answer the question.
You may respond as you see fit. Go ahead.
At the time of September 4th, we did not ask the medical doctors or the medical professionals any information about his condition.
And badgering the witness, I feel like that's an understatement with how he's yelling at this man. But it's still not a proper defense. When drunk drivers hit someone and kill them, they don't get to say, sorry, I was drunk. You're going to jail. So regardless if you're on drugs or not, it's just not an adequate defense. You chose to take those drugs. You did that, and you're still responsible for your own behavior of what you do while you're high on those drugs. So I feel like him trying to make this case with the drugs, or also, what he's trying to do here really is say, basically you shouldn't have interviewed him because he was, on drugs and, he was shot in the head and you didn't ask the doctors or wait. Yeah, I think he was shot in the head. But it wasn't like that. He's talking. If I think this is when he was shot in the head. Mark, you're like my right hand at this point. But he was shot in the head and he went to rehab, right? Same time. Correct me if I'm wrong. But either way, if you listen to his 911 call when he was shot in the head, that is the calmest 911 call I've ever heard in my entire life for somebody being shot in the head. Completely lucid, talking normally, talking fine. And again, this line of questioning from Dick Harpootlian to me is just no dice, Dick. No dice. He's in the rehab. He's you can't talk to him like that. You didn't even ask the doctors if you could do that. Well, they can't ask for his medical records. You just heard him say they would have to subpoena that. But nobody stopped him, and he talked away. So, come on. To me, in any capacity, this whole drug thing, his admitting, setting up his own shooting in the head, that didn't even do anything to him, really. It's all ruses. If this conviction happens, and I'm very strongly hoping that it does, from what I've seen and heard with this trial, South Carolina, Hampton County especially, needs to throw themselves a party, pat themselves on the back, and then rip up all the other corruption going on around there as well, because Alec Murdaugh is not the only one. And Mark, maybe you'll have some thoughts on this. His best friends, Chris Wilson. I thought he came across as a very kind man. But how is this possible? How is this possible that this law firm was being taken this way by Alec for that long and no one noticed? Or like, how? I mean, I guess it's possible because that's what con men do. But it just seems like birds of a feather, I mean, I guess I shouldn't, prosecute over here just by guilt by association, but is it really possible that this guy just literally frauded or harmed everyone around him and none of the people closest to him ever suspected a thing? Like, does that make sense? Because that doesn't make sense to me. I'm feeling like there's a flock of these people there. And like I said, if Hampton County is smart and they convict him, go after the rest. Go after the rest. Let Walmart come in. Let you guys develop a little bit. Have a grocery store. Stop letting these guys get rich this way, mismanage money, have all of this ridiculous, power because of that. I think I forget what I was watching. I was watching something, but somebody said that he had a workman's comp case. And his lawyer, he got a lawyer. And when the lawyer found out that they were going up against Alec Murdaugh's law firm, he just told his client, we're toast. So it's like everyone knew that, they have their judges in their back pocket, basically. And the judges too, and the law enforcement as well. I thought Blanca was the housekeeper, for anyone that doesn't know. But I thought Blanca was a really good witness. But at the same time, there's still questions even surrounding her. Her husband's law enforcement, there were some things. There were some things with her. But I don't know. I mean, I thought her testimony was good. I thought she was very credible. I thought she was very believable. And to me, I took it as she believed that Alec did this. That's just how I read her. I don't know if you guys think so as well. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm just reading you guys' comments. Lauren Dellin, badgering the witness makes the jury dislike the lawyer and the client for choosing them. Yeah, exactly. I that really struck me wrong. Don't get me wrong, because I love to see a good defense attorney at work. I do. That's how you know that the system's all working. All the wheels are working. I like to see a good defense attorney at work. But this is just combativeness. This is trickery. And it's not even, it's, how do I want to say this? It's not fun to watch. You just kind of want to slap the guy and tell him to cut it out, you know? I don't know. I just don't enjoy watching him. I think he's just completely delusional. And it's like I'm watching this and I'm thinking, if I was a juror, I would actually be insulted that you expect me to like go along with the BS that you're doing right now. No reason to treat this sled agent the way he was doing. Yes, I understand he was trying to, basically say he did something wrong. But the way he was going about that, you got to have a little bit more finesse. Little bit of aggressiveness, little bit of finesse makes for a good defense attorney. But just straight out combativeness, not so much. Just my opinion. Another defense attorney in a big case, the Vallow case that's coming up. Lori, I know you're going to be probably talking about that. I definitely am. Been waiting 4 years. I've lost count at this point, but a long time for that case. But that's another defense attorney, John Pryor. He's like a pit bull. But he doesn't have anything on Dick Harpootlian, in my opinion. I mean, John Pryor, he's a piece of work. He really is. He's something to watch. But Dick Harpootlian, I don't know. He got under my skin. I didn't enjoy watching it. Like, defense getting some points in there or making people think a little bit. Instead, I just saw this as you're just really trying to beat up on this guy because you have nothing else. And if you have nothing else, you can't even defend the client. I mean, in my opinion, he's guilty. I'll say it again. Tamara, I probably got in trouble from the judge because I did a tone right back at him. Oh. Mark, she lived there for a year at $1,500 a week paid by Alec. Yes, Mark's talking about Blanca. So after the murders, Blanca and her husband move into the Moselle house, which was the Murdaugh family home where Maggie and Paul were killed. They move in, and Alex starts paying her $1,500 a week to stay there and take care of the place, and not a bad deal. But so I guess she was selling Maggie's clothes on Poshmark, which I guess that was at someone's direction. I don't know if that was at Alex's direction or who she was taking orders from to do that. But I will say, just in her testimony, she was the only witness that actually really, she made me cry. I'm not going to lie. She actually made me shed a couple tears. Because she was really strong, and she was giving just straightforward testimony, and then there was that break. And she just sort of broke for a minute when she was describing coming to the house the next day and realizing, that Maggie was never coming back. And that her and Maggie were close. And I actually believe that. I don't know why I believe that, but I do believe that. There was this one really important part with her testimony where she starts to talk about Maggie asking her to come over, and Maggie takes her all the way across the house. Alec was sleeping, and she takes her all the way across the house on the other side of the house to talk to her about something. And she said when they went in the room that even though Alec was sleeping and even though he was all the way on the other side of the house, she still shut the door. So that just tells you, what she was about to say to Blanca. She definitely did not want anyone else to hear, especially him, because I think he was the only one home. So, but she started to say that Maggie was really upset about the boating civil lawsuit, that saying that they didn't have $30 million, that she would basically give anything to make it all go away. But that testimony was interrupted by Mr. Back of his head that you keep staring at on the screen, Mr. Harpoolian. Tons of objections, and I think they had to send the jury, out and to the jury room, and it was a whole thing. But she ended up being able to still testify to it, but it just kind of killed the moment. So let's see. Laura Dillon, I've been streaming the Murdaugh case as a warm-up for the Daybell case. Oh, that's a good idea. I've got it. If I don't stream the Daybell case and daily talk about it, Laura Dillon, I'll probably never forgive myself. Grandma, hi. All in bold. Mark makes coffee. Make some for Grandma. Mark talks about Alec was lying to her. Yes, that I think she said something along the lines of that Alec didn't tell her everything. And I feel like that was implying, like, this is worse than I think, because he doesn't tell me everything, and I just want this to go away. Because if his paralegals are going to testify that, she noticed a big change in him after the boating accident, becoming more withdrawn, mean, not talking to them the same, being consumed with that case. I'm pretty sure that Maggie noticed some changes in him as well. And I know they said that she loved to be at the beach house, and I have no reason to doubt that, but after the boating accident, is that when when they started living apart? Because again, if he's going to start talking to colleagues this way, I would imagine he would be doing this at home. And it was also said that she didn't like the hunting lodge. She didn't like the, I always pronounce it, Moselle. She didn't like the Moselle house. I guess she had come out there kind of reluctantly and wanted to make it, more homey. I guess the boys really liked it though. So, but I don't know. I just think that she had to notice that change in him. If his paralegals did, I'm pretty positive his wife did as well. You're with someone that long, you know them. You don't even have to see them all the darn time. You know them. Plus, him having to coax her over to the house. That's a giant, big red flag as well. When he says, oh, I didn't even know she was going to be here. But then you find out that he asked her to come to go see his dad, who was just put in hospice that day, but he never takes her to go see his dad in hospice, and then he leaves to go see his mother and not his father. So make it make sense. But yeah, what reason would you have really to not want to go so bad, really, to your own home where your husband is? Your husband's asking you to come. His father is in hospice. That you need to be sort of coaxed and coached by your sister to, kind of do the right thing and go and comfort him. That's the right thing. His dad's in hospice now. You have to be talked into that. There had to be a lot of problems going on there, because that's just not normal. To me, that's not a loving relationship like Alec described it. Oh, we had a good relationship. Very good. As good as it can be. Well, if I have to have my significant other's sister coax him into coming over because my dad's dying, that doesn't sound too healthy to me. I'm just saying. There I go. Tamra, Maggie saw the decline. She had to. I agree. Mark, the day of the murder, Maggie purchased a $1,000 purse. Alec found out because it bounced but was cleared. Maggie's sister wishes she never told her to go. She's a victim also of Aya. Yes. And Grandma's saying, geez, even my Doonies don't cost up $1K. Yeah. Yeah, I felt bad for her sister because, there's the realization that I'm the one that told her to go and do this. But, who would ever think up, oh, I'm talking my sister into going to her death. Her husband's going to shoot and kill her tonight, along with my nephew. It's just such an outrageous thought. So I imagine she has some guilt there, but hopefully she can work through that. She seemed like a nice lady to me. I don't know her, just what I saw on the stand, obviously, but I felt bad for her. Nobody should feel that way. She was telling her the right thing to do, but you do have to ask the question of, wouldn't you ask yourself, wonder why my sister doesn't want to go there so bad? She's been married to this man for 2+ decades, and she doesn't want to go over there, even with his father in hospice. It talked about quite a bit of how close they all were to, their in-laws. Alec was said to be very close to Maggie's parents. And I think she was very loved by his family as well. So it just, as her sister, you just, I guess you don't think like that. But I would just draw a little red flag to me, and I would just think probably, that's weird. She really doesn't want to go over there, even with his dad dying. Could talk her into that. That things must not be too great. That would probably be my thought. But I've never been in her shoes, thank God, so I don't want to speculate too much and get on a soapbox here. But anyway, what's Grandma saying? Or Tamara says, I don't think even Maggie thought that it was death harmful. Yeah. Her sister seemed just in shock. Yeah, she really did. That had to be really hard. I mean, these people vacationed together. They did all that kind of stuff. I've been on vacations with in-laws. It does make you closer. You feel more of a sense of family and stuff. And they did this frequently. So, I mean, they all knew each other very well. It had to be such a surreal thing to have to get up on a stand and talk about your sister and your brother-in-law and your nephew because they've been murdered. Talk about your sister, the affair her husband had. I mean, these are just things that, to us, it's just a story. But this is this person's life. That has to be a horrible feeling. I would hate that. I mean, who would want to do that? Especially about somebody you love? No. Mark, after the funeral, he flew to Key West to be with her family. Did he really? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's so bad. But like the sister said on the stand, they were worried for them. Like, they were scared for Alec and Buster, not really understanding, not thinking he did this. And somebody was out to harm their family. So I do think it was really powerful, though, when she said Alec wasn't scared. We were scared, but he wasn't scared. And just the way she said it, it was like she didn't even want to say it loudly. Because you're still, I feel like her sister to me still seems in grief. She doesn't seem like she's in any way really okay. So, Nicole, hi Nicole. It's just so weird that with everything Alex did, no one really had bad things to say about him, except he was a thief. But they all said he was a good husband and father, and family was always first. Yeah, I know. That is weird. Grandma, hey, I'm still numb from my friend passing. Can't wrap my head around it. I can't imagine it, a murder. Exactly. Nicole, but I guess even Chris Watts was a good husband and dad until he wasn't. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things that go on that people don't know about, And thank you to the defense for telling us about that affair. I digress, but Tamara, At Nicole G. Until the addiction took the lead and the mask came off, do we think? Yeah, could be. Grief goes in stages. Sure does. Been there. Still there with some family members. Liz, Grandma, I was happy to see Jess on. Missed this. I have to step away, but listening. Oh, and you know what? I've been on for so darn long. If you guys could do me a favor, just hit the like button. That would help me. But I am going to get off and carry on with my President's Day. So I hope you guys all have a great holiday today. And maybe I'll go live some more with this trial. I enjoy talking about it. Yeah, and I would like to do that. So, all right, guys. Until next time. Maybe next time I'll cam up. Bye for now.